The porcelain clink was too sharp for a quiet dining room. Rosa froze mid. Wipe as the blonde woman at the table slowly lowered her teacup and stared at her with narrowed, offended eyes, the kind that didn't need to raise a voice to injure someone. "Could you not lean so close?" the guest said softly, almost sweetly. "I can actually smell the detergent on your hands. It's unpleasant." Rosa straightened at once and stepped back. "I'm sorry, ma'am." The guest smiled without warmth. "You people always say sorry, but you don't listen." Two other women at the table exchanged a small look. Not pity, not outrage, just the quiet complicity of people used to hierarchy. Rosa nodded, kept wiping the table edge, her throat tightening so sharply it hurt. She had been on her feet since 5 a.m. She hadn't eaten. She kept her breathing quiet. The blonde guest lifted her cup again, then added, almost lazily, "Next time, maybe wipe the table before guests are seated. Not while we are eating. It's uncivilized." That word landed like a slap. Rosa didn't defend herself. She never did. She simply whispered, "Yes, ma'am," and walked away. She made it out of the dining room with a straight spine, but once she turned into the service corridor, her eyes stung. She wiped her face with the back of her wrist, silently. She could not afford to appear emotional. She set the cloth down, took her lunch container from the staff shelf, and walked outside into the rain. Better to be wet than to crumble in front of them. She sat on the back steps where no one passed, rain soaking into her clothes as she opened her simple meal. Her hands trembled, but not from cold, from humiliation that had nowhere to go. She lifted a spoon to her mouth. And that was the exact moment David Sterling's car rolled from the garage. He was adjusting his cufflinks in the back seat when his eyes drifted outward and landed on her. Rosa, soaked, eating alone in the rain like a discarded thing beside his mansion. He didn't blink at first. Something about it arrested him completely. She didn't notice him. Her head was bowed, jaw tight, eyes red. "Sir?" the driver asked, waiting for instruction to continue. David didn't answer immediately. For one suspended second, he just looked. Not with pity, with a confusion he couldn't name. Then he said only, "Go." The car pulled out, but he turned his head back to the window until she vanished from view. That image stayed. All through the meeting, while people argued about numbers and market shares, it flickered behind his eyes. Rosa, eating in the rain like she had no right to a roof she worked under. It pushed under his skin. It made every executive sentence around him sound absurd. By the time he returned home that evening, he was still unsettled. He walked through the hall and stopped the head of domestic staff with one quiet question. Why was Rosa eating outside today? The woman stiffened, surprised he even noticed. "Sir, she prefers to eat out there." "Nobody prefers rain," David said flatly. The head of staff hesitated. "There was an incident weeks ago with a guest, sir." She was embarrassed. "Since then she chooses to eat out of sight." He stared for a moment. "And you allowed that?" The woman swallowed. "She insisted, sir." There was a beat. Then, very controlled, "Where does she live?" The staff head faltered. "In the South District, sir. She takes 2 buses after shift." "Does she have children?" "One son." "Age?" 17. David paused. "Studying?" "Yes, sir. Top of his class. He wants to be an engineer." "Rosa takes extra shifts to pay for his prep exam fees." He said nothing for several seconds. Then, in a voice low enough to be dangerous, "I want his file on my desk by morning." That night, he did not go to his room. He got back in the car. "South District," he told his driver. They stopped far enough not to be seen. From inside the car, he watched Rosa step off a bus with heavy steps, cross a puddled street to a narrow, dim apartment block. He saw light in the window of her unit. The silhouette of her son bent over books. A thin, leaking line of water ran down the wall beside the glass. Rosa entered. In the glow inside, she slipped off her wet shoes, kissed her son's hair, unpacked what little food she had saved for him. Her fatigue showed in the way she exhaled before sitting, but she smiled at the boy, a real smile, the kind she didn't have the luxury to show at work. David watched it all without moving, without speaking, something shifting, not loudly, not theatrically, but with the dangerous quiet of a plate sliding off balance before it falls. He stayed until the light in their window went off. The next morning, Rosa was called to his study. She entered with her hands clasped, breath uneven, eyes already braced for trouble. "Sir, did I?" she began, voice tight. "You ate outside yesterday," he cut in. She lowered her head. Yes, sir. I apologize. It won't. You don't apologize for the rain, he said. Her lips parted, confused. I didn't want to disturb. You are not a disturbance, he interrupted again, calmer this time. Silence stretched between them. Rosa blinked hard, tears threatening already. Humiliation leaves a bruise that cries before words do. He looked at her for one long, evaluating second, not with softness, but with a kind of decision forming behind his eyes. From today, he said, voice even, you eat indoors. You will not stand or sit outside again to take a meal. Is that understood? She nodded quickly, chin trembling. Yes, sir. Thank you. He didn't dismiss her yet. And Rosa, he added, softer but firmer, no one in this house speaks to you the way I know you were spoken to. If it happens again, you come to me. That broke her posture. Not fully, but enough that her eyes spilled before she could stop them. One tear, then another, quiet and ashamed. I'm sorry, she whispered, wiping them fast, embarrassed to be seen crying in front of the owner. You don't apologize for tears either, David said, and meant it. He didn't say more, not yet. What he was going to do next, he would do without her permission, without her expectation, without witnesses. Go, he said finally. She left with shaking hands. The door closed. He exhaled once, long, and then pressed the intercom. Send my assistant in. Now. The assistant entered with a tablet ready. David didn't look up from the window. Draft a full academic sponsorship, full tuition, materials, transportation, prep center enrollment for Rosa's son. Anonymous donor. Effective immediately. The assistant stared. For a staff member's child? David turned his head slowly. Did I stutter? No, sir. Right away. And another thing, David added, voice lower. The guest from yesterday, blacklist her. She is never hosted here again. The assistant blinked. Sir, I didn't ask who she was. I said she will not step into this house again. The assistant swallowed. Understood. David dismissed him with a flick of the fingers. But even after the door closed, he remained motionless, jaw tight, that image still rooted in him. A woman breaking quietly where nobody looks. Weeks passed. Rosa didn't know about the sponsorship, not yet. She only knew her son suddenly received an email. Congratulations, full engineering prep scholarship awarded. He froze at the screen, breath shaking. Mom, someone paid. Someone paid for me. Rosa's knees weakened. She had to grip the counter. Paid who? How? What? The message had no donor name. She cried. Not like before, not from humiliation, but from the kind of shock that empties the lungs. That same week, she was moved from general staff to private house staff with doubled pay. No explanation. David never mentioned it. Not once. He remained distant, not unkind, not warm, just deliberate. That made it worse somehow. Worse and heavier. One night, Rosa was wiping the edge of the main hall when he walked in unexpectedly. She straightened. Too fast, too afraid of existing. You don't flinch in this house, he said quietly without stopping. She caught herself before apologizing. He noticed. His mouth moved like the ghost of approval. Then he walked on. 5 years later, the building was glass and steel, the kind whose architecture announces its owner before the sign does. Cameras flashed. A black car stopped at the entrance. Rosa stood near the back of the crowd, trembling. Her son, taller now, in a suit, stepped out beside David. Journalists shouted questions. Mr. Sterling, why invest in a first-time engineer's project? Because brilliance deserves backing, David said. And your connection to him? David looked at the boy with something almost like pride. I witnessed where he started. I wanted to witness where he would go. Rosa covered her mouth. Her son took the podium. I dedicate this launch to my mother, he said into the mic, voice thick. Everything started with her. People clapped. But Rosa was not looking at the stage. She was looking at David. And David, in the middle of lights and cameras, was looking back only at her. Not as an employer. Not as a billionaire. Something shifted in that held gaze. The acknowledgement of 5 silent years of decisions made without credit, without witness, without debt. After the ceremony, as people moved indoors, David walked directly to her. No guards, no filters, no distance. You shouldn't stand back there, he said quietly. She could barely breathe. I didn't want to be in the way. You, he said, have never been in the way. Her eyes burned, the same way they had in the rain years ago, but not from shame this time. He held that silence with her until she steadied. Then he said, even lower, walk with me. She did. Inside the great glass building her son had designed, she walked beside the man who had changed the trajectory of their lives without ever asking for thanks. And for the first time, she did not walk 3 steps behind. If you want more stories like this, the kind that remind people that one act can rewrite a life, subscribe, like, and drop a comment telling which moment hit you hardest. Your engagement keeps the stories coming. Stay till the next chapter. It always matters who keeps watching.